Thank you.
Okay, I wanted to get started asking about the development of the film and what really convinced you both to make the film and get the story together. And what was that process like of just really getting the story together?
I think it's been with us for a really long time. We kind of thought of it like over 10 years ago, and it's been a long path to making it in different drafts. And Carson had this idea of infusing this political undertone to the whole thing, and I think that turned it into what it is now. But it has been the longest road, I think.
All our projects, yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of having the political undertone mixed in with the slasher elements, was that something that you really wanted to focus on and really balancing the political aspects with the horror genre? And what was that experience like, really balancing the two elements?
I kind of think they went hand in hand. I think there's like a juicy, interesting angle that this allows us to explore, sort of like people and social components. So I think a lot of horror movies are also like social thrillers at the same time. And because of that, I think we're able to like get at interesting themes and kind of uncover, you know, interesting developments along the way. I think it sort of was a nice marriage between the 2.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Erik, I wanted to ask you about directing the film and how did working on the script influence your directing on set, and how did you really approach just directing in general on set?
I think it's been very clear, I think, just visually what we've been hoping for it to be and the feel of it since forever.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of it came to us, think, assembling a lot of the right people and making sure that that translated to them, so that everyone knew what the movie we were making was, and they were making that same movie, and trusting that. And I think there was a lot of prep. There was a lot of talk about locations and sequences that Carson and Mike's the DP, and I and some of the department heads were involved in. So just doing that level of prep and pre-visualization, I think, was a very big component to what we were doing. And then Carson, watching my back when I'm on camera acting and stuff too, and just making sure that we get what we need.
And also, speaking about acting in the film, at what point did you decide to also star in the movie, and what was the process like? If you can also discuss about bringing on the rest of the cast as well.
I think we like the idea of having. There's like 2 ensembles in this movie. There's like the adult ensemble, and there's the high school ensemble, and there's a police deputy character and I who kind of like bridge those 2 places so that we kind of live in both worlds. And that was interesting to me, and then that it just made sense for me to fall into that. And in terms of the rest of the cast, it starts with people that we've worked with before, and then it brings some new people into the fold, bringing some friends of actors into the fold, and just kind of seeing like who resonates with the material and also our way of working, I think. And just because we shoot these rather quickly, and people that have that degree of trust and adventure behind it all.
And once the rest of the cast signed on, how did you approach working with them and really building the characters' relationships and just the character arcs in general? And what was that experience like as well on set, really getting to work with the rest of the cast?
I think it was like individual conversations with everybody at first, and then on the day, people thankfully got along. The little bonding things right when we landed, and just there being a degree of trust and communication that like this is how fast we're going to move. This is what I'm thinking, and fielding everybody else's ideas, whether it's like how they look, how they dress, how they talk, and synthesizing that, I think, was the.
Also, speaking about the locations, like you mentioned earlier, and what was that experience like as well, and really figuring out where you wanted to shoot and really creating the look for the settings as well.
Yeah, we knew we wanted to shoot in this small town. We shot in New Milford, Connecticut. That sort of offered a few of the key production components we needed from the movie, and there's a quaint charm about it too. So we then used it to sort of like craft maybe a few other locations and just be logical about sort of what the whole scope of this was. And it's neat because we sort of had a somewhat of a run of just using the town and doing certain things and having things be accessible to us. So that was a treat, and we got to kind of
I think we built some sequences around what we knew we had too.
yeah.
Once you began working on set with especially with like the action driven scenes, how did you really approach creating the stunt work with the cast and really creating the physicality with them as well?
I think we just asked the question, how much can we do in the time that we have, and
Yeah.
worked backwards from there to try to make the cool
Yeah.
stuff within the parameters that we had. I think most of the cast that had to do physical stuff was down to do it and was able to do it. And the person who did a lot of the stunt work for the killer character, very down to play and infuse with character, and had some great ideas and bits that like would look cool, and just try to add spectacle where we could, but within the realm of practicality.
So, besides working on the script together, I saw that you were also both producers on the film. And what was that experience like on set to balance like, the producing elements with like the directing and acting, and just in general approaching the film in terms of producing as well?
It was terrible.
Yeah, awful.
That's
It's good. You know, we have a shared vision for these sorts of things, and we're very much like a hive mind in a lot of ways. So there's an implicit kind of trust that we have, and we know we shoot for the edit as well, because we edit it as well. It's just kind of like what the pieces are we need, how to honor the script. So they're conversations that are constantly happening. And sporadically, like if there's something one of us is missing, there's a second one that knows what it is and how to make sure we get what we need. So it's good. I mean, to be able to lean on each other like that.
Also, speaking about the edit, how did you approach working together to put the final version of the film together and really edit the project together as well?
I think it's similar how we write, right? Like sometimes
Yeah.
we pass when we write, sometimes we pass the laptop back and forth and go, you do this, you do this. Same with editing, like we'll alternate. And sometimes we'll sit together and do a scene together. And sometimes someone will start and then someone will change.
Like if someone has like, oh, I have a hum to go do that scene right now, and just let me just kind of put something down, write some words, or put a sequence together, and we can kind of like go from there. Like you create the canvas that we can both then edit and refine from.
And while I was watching the film, I also liked the look of the killer overall and the costumes in general. And what was that experience like of really creating the look for the killer as well in general?
Thank you. I think neither of us, we didn't want it to look cheap, but we also didn't want it to look like it had been designed by like a major like theatrical studio costume designer, because like we wanted it to just feel rooted in reality. So we simplified where we could, but added little accessories where we could. And the mask was a big conversation just to make it feel really distinct, but not look like we were like forcing like a mask you've never seen before into existence. We wanted it to feel classic,
unique, not gimmicky, kind of
that's the
like,
way to put it.
you know, distinguished, and something where like, oh, that feels like the real deal, you know?
Yeah. So we were fortunate to work with designers who resonated with that and came up with something great. And there was a little back and forth, but they really we feel nailed it, and we're really happy. Like the mask is red. We think that that's really cool, and it adds to some like camouflage components, and
It's a little poetic too with some of the themes with, you know, politics and all that.
So that was the bigger conversation.
And also, besides the visuals, I also like the score for the film as well, and wanted to ask about what that process was like of really coming up with how you wanted the score to sound like, and creating the music for the film as well.
We started with some thoughts that it was going to be a little bit more orchestral than it was, and then our composer like had a very strong feeling that it should feel a little grungier, more metallic, more
mean in
angry,
some places,
mean,
while still having that intrigue
and so we listened to some samples that he made, and it really worked, and it actually added a degree of it played nicely against like these kind of beautiful fall backdrops that you had a kind of like mean pulsing, screechy beneath the surface. And there's definitely a lot of like whist, not a lot of, but like some whist and like melancholic stuff in this as well. But I think that it feels good, much in the way like when we did a movie called She Came from the Woods, and it was like going to be a synth score, or no, it was never going to be a synth score, but the choice I think might have obviously been to do a synth score, and I'd love a synth score, but we chose to go like a hybrid route with that, just to do something that feels like you might not be expecting.
And also with the movie having its world premiere this week at Popcorn Frights, what's that experience been like as well, and getting into the festival and being able to share the movie, gearing up for that as well this week.
Exciting. I think we're finally in a place where we can just watch it as viewers and not editors and producers and everything. Well, obviously still being that, I think it's going to be nice to breathe and just see it in a space and see it with people too, because I think that this movie really is catered to an audience. And so we're excited to see how some stuff plays and just sort of talk to people and see how everyone responds.
And after the premiere at the festival, do you have any other festivals coming up, or anything you can also discuss in terms of the release after the premiere this week?
The one thing I can discuss right now is that we're going to be in Fright Fest in London on August 28th, so that'll be international premiere. We'll be there. Yeah, we're leaving right after Miami. We're going to be in Miami and in London, so we'll be there, and then we'll see what the fall brings.
Okay, I think that was mainly it, but thank you both again for taking the time to speak with me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, Karen.
You're welcome.